I just stumbled upon a trap that I wish I knew before. And it starts with the queen's gambit, and specifically when they defend with the knight. Now, we can take here, and after the knight takes back, we attack the knight again. So far, it's still theory, nothing wrong. They will usually bring the knight here, we'll bring the other knight out, and one mistake the opponent can make, and will often make here, is to bring their other knight out. Now in this position, what I always did is I attacked the knight, started kicking it around, and arguably that's still the best. But I discovered a really cool trap here. And it's really simple actually, because we just develop our other knight. And believe it or not, but black is really making a lot of mistakes from this position. And the main thing is about this bishop. Black wants to get this bishop out, and they don't want to block it with a move like e6. So they think, okay, where can the bishop go? Now, obviously, this is a really passive square, so they're like, okay, let's just develop it here. We are pinning the knight, meaning this pawn is under pressure now. It's basically the only other safe square for the bishop instead of d7. And then afterwards they can play moves like e6, and okay, they're fine, they think so. And for us, the plan is exactly the same as in the other variation I talked about earlier, and that's just attacking this knight here. And here black can go wrong again. The engine already says that we are at a +1 advantage, but it can get even worse, because black might think, okay, I can just bring my knight here. And as you can see, the engine already says it's a blunder. But the reason isn't really obvious, because this knight is pinned, right? If we take, they take our queen. So what do? Well, we take. And as you can see, it's a brilliant move, and I'm going to show you why. Because yes, they can take our queen, but then we will follow up with bishop b5 check. And notice the king can't move, so they have to block in some way. Now they have three options. One is just to block with the queen and lose the queen immediately, so that's no good, obviously. So there's two other options. Now, if they block with the knight, we can just take the knight, and after they take our bishop, sorry, they have to take our bishop, I should have explained, because the king can't move anywhere, so we can just take back, and after king takes, we can still take our bishop that's hanging here, and we're up a piece. So that's no good either. So the only real option that's left is blocking with this pawn. Now, in this position, we can actually take. And it looks like, okay, we've just sacked our queen, and we didn't win that queen back, so this is actually good. But it actually is. One thing to note is that if they do nothing, so let's say they just try to save their bishop somehow, we can just go for something like this, and now they have the same problem in this square, only now they can't block with the pawn, so they have to go for one of these moves, which we saw earlier that doesn't work. So instead they can take the pawn, yeah, after we take back, same problem on this square. Either the knight or the queen has to block, and eventually they're gonna lose their queen. So if those moves don't work, black has quite some other options, only it's all based around the same idea, and that's creating an escape square for the king. Now, they can do that by moving the queen, and the queen has a lot of safe squares, like 5, I believe, yeah. So all those 5 squares are safe for the queen to go to. And it does create an escape square, so if we do something like, if he moves like here, after we take this pawn, it's still a check here, but they don't have to go into all this blocking stuff, but they can actually move their queen, their king. The problem is though, in this variation, we have the immediate checkmate here. And it's a nice one because the pawn is actually assisting. Notice how it takes away this square, the bishop takes away these 3, and the king is just getting checkmated. So, okay, that doesn't work. But like I said, the queen has 5 squares, so let's try this one. Well, in this variation we can go here, and notice that we're attacking the queen now. So that's a problem because it's also a check. So, you know, even if they go here with the king, we can just take, for example, and after they take back, we can either take this bishop or throw in this fork. But either way, we end up a lot of material. So queen there doesn't work either. Well, what if they go here with a queen? Well, in this case, we don't take the pawn, but we actually move up, again attacking the queen. Now, the king, if you notice, can't move here because the pawn is blocking, so the only thing he can do is block with the knight, and we ignore the queen and we just take the knight because this is actually checkmate. Notice again how the pawn is assisting in taking away one square, so that's again a checkmate, so that queen move doesn't work as well. Well, what about this queen move? Now, we can take this pawn again, and as you can see, it's the check here, but move the king here. And if you notice, we can do two things. Best is probably to take the rook first, and they have to take back, and after they take back, we take here. And it's a fork of the king and the queen, so after the king moves, we just take the queen. And we're again up a lot of material after this variation. So that doesn't work either. Well, the last move the queen has is here. So let's try that one. Well, we can go here. Again, the king is in check, he has to move. And now we actually have this check over here, forking the king and queen in a different way. And we're again going to win back the queen, and even better is, and this is quite a nice in-between move, we can take the rook by promoting to a knight, because it's check, so he doesn't have time to save his queen, so he has to take back. Notice we won a rook here, and after we take the queen, we're again up a lot of material, so this is winning as well. So if all those queen moves don't work, the only try black has is really to attack our bishop. And we have to be careful here because in all the other variations we were either taking or pushing. But if we do that now, so let's say we take, they can just take our bishop because that's the piece that's checking him. And now he's out of trouble, his queen is saved, and we're just losing. So we can't do that. But what we can do is actually go for this check. And even though they can take our bishop now, we are attacking that queen. So we can just take the queen, and let's say they take back with the rook. The best here is to move our bishop here. Notice how we're attacking this knight, but the simplest is actually just to take this bishop. We're up a lot of material, we won the bishop, so that's also good. So yeah, a lot of variations in this, but everything is winning, and yeah, basically it's quite natural for black to go into this because after the knight is attacked, the other option they have is to either go here and probably get kicked around even more, and the best move is actually to go back, but no one wants to do that because yeah, they're behind in development a lot.
The Caro-Kann starts with the following moves. Here we go for the advanced variation. In this position, we can play the quiet-looking move h4. Amazingly, our trap is already set. Black continues with his usual setup and plays e6. But now, we can strike with g4. If the bishop goes to g6, we can trap it with h5. If the bishop goes to e4, we trap it with e3. It's as simple as that, we're up a bishop after just a couple of moves. We start off our game with the Ponziani opening. We immediately attack the center with d4. Black decides to take our hanging pawn, after which we will attack the other knight. After the knight moves back, we can win back the pawn. This simultaneously sets a trap. Black wants to get rid of this knight, and plays the natural-looking move d6. Now we can play bishop b5, check. If the bishop blocks, we can just take and force black to lose his queen. So instead, black blocks with a pawn. We will take that pawn. Recapturing in any way leads to the loss of material, so black thinks he's clever and plays queen b6, attacking our bishop and threatening checkmate. Now we can take the pawn with check. If black takes our bishop, we can simply take the rook and make a new queen. So black steps aside with the king, renewing the checkmate threat. But now we can play knight f7 check, forcing the king to c7. Finally, we can end it off with b takes a8 equals knight, winning the queen on the next move. The Orthoschnapp Gambit starts after this French defense line. Instead of the usual queen b3, we give this check. Black will usually block with the bishop, after which we move the queen back. After black takes the pawn, we bring out our bishop, putting pressure on f7. Our trap is now set. A natural way of protecting the f7 square is by playing queen e7. But here we can take on b7, attacking the rook. Black tries to save the rook by playing bishop c6. Here we give this check, forcing the queen back. Now we can take on f7. Black will notice the king has to protect the queen and move to e7, but here we can finish the game off with queen e6, checkmate. Let's start off with some main moves in the Wayward queen attack. Here we continue with f5. This looks like a free pawn, so white takes. But now we jump in with our knight. In the theme of the Wayward queen attack, white keeps trying to make checkmate threats. We can defend this with our queen. Since our knight is threatening a fork now, white defends with their knight. This is where we attack the queen. Notice that there's only two safe squares for the queen. If they go to e4, we have this simple fork winning material. So instead, white moves the queen to a5. Here we can attack it again. Because queen a4 will also walk into a fork, white retreats to c3. Now we attack the bishop. White's best try here is moving all the way back, keeping the bishop in the game. Now we can continue with b5, threatening another fork. So white stops that fork by moving the queen back to a5. Here we can play rook b5, threatening to kick the knight away and fork the king and rook afterwards. White tries to stop that plan by attacking our knight. But amazingly, we can actually just leave the knight, and play the sneaky move rook b6. After white takes the knight, we can attack the queen. Again, there's only one square to go to. But here, we finally have a beautiful discovered check, winning the queen on the next move.